Good morning, and welcome to Unity Spiritual Center in Spokane, where our mission is transforming lives and inspiring people to make a positive difference in our world. And we're delighted that you're joining with us today. So to begin our time together, let's begin with our opening affirmation. I will say it once and then invite you, wherever you are geographically, to join in repeating it with me. There's only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe, God the Good. Together?
There is only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe, God the Good.
One presence, one power, one life, living itself as and through each one of us.
All right, so we got some great news to share with everybody. Actually, we have a lot of news this morning. So the first thing that we want to mention is that next week, next Sunday, July 12th, we'll be having an outdoor experience, an unplugged service outdoor. It'll start at 8:15 a.m. and go to 8:45. Well, that's okay. It's good to make sure that our studio audience is on top of these things. So 8:45. If you come at 8:30, there won't be anything there. So we're going to have at 8:45 to 9:30, we'll have an outdoor service. It'll just be a meditation and a talk. And then Jane and I will come inside and we'll do the live streaming service and then our Zoom meet and greet afterwards. There won't be any access to the building, and we're inviting everyone to bring your chairs to sit, your face mask and social distance. We'll have cones out in the parking lot designating where we'll be situated. We'll be right in front of the gates in the prayer garden. We won't be in the prayer garden, but in front of it. And so we'll be set up in that area of the parking lot. There won't be any access from 29th Street through the parking lot to the other side on the kitchen side or the youth ministry side. You won't be able to drive through the parking lot. It's going to be blocked. So the only access that you'll have will be on Bernard, and you'll just park where the cones allow you to park and come out and set up your chairs in a proper distance from each other. And we'll just try it out and see how we experience this. And we'll do it so long as the weather enables us. In other words, if it's raining outside, we're not going to set up our PA system and have our outdoor service. So just pay attention to that. Also, as a reminder, all of the relevant news with respect to what's happening here at Unity Spiritual Center is available every Wednesday under e-news update. So be sure and stay tuned to that, because we have another important item to share with you. We're going to be migrating our Zoom meet and greet that happens after our Sunday live streaming to our own Zoom account here at the church. We've acquired the church's Zoom account. We're going to take it off my personal Zoom account and move it on to a different code for the Zoom access. So you'll need to get that access on the Wednesday e-newsletter update, because that's where it's going to be. And because Zoom is migrating to password protection, there's going to be a need to make sure you accurately copy the link, because you won't be able to access it otherwise unless you have the password. So what other things that we need to share with everybody? There's a lot of things that are happening online too.
There are. So to get any information about any of the classes that are being held, again, e-news update is your place to go to get all of the information. You can now register for all of these things online. And so the links are there. You click on the link, it'll take you to a place where you can register. And then whoever is teaching that class will get your information and will respond to you. And so this Tuesday, we'll be beginning the Me and White Supremacy book and action study group. And there are two possible times you can choose from. You can either come to the 11:30 a.m. session or the 6:30 p.m. session, and that's Pacific time. Whichever one works best for you, you're welcome to come to that one. And if you haven't ordered the book yet, you want to go ahead and order a Kindle copy or Audible, because you can order the hard copy, but it won't be here on time. But you can use that as well. And the book is really important to have and to get. along with the book is a 28-day program, and it's a journaling program, and that's where the work is going to be done, is in that journaling. And when we come together, we will be discussing that as well. So I welcome you. We've got room in both groups for more, and you're so welcome to come and be a part of that. So just want to invite you to that.
And just as a reminder, once again, we are coming next week, beginning an outdoor service at 8:45 to 9:30. There will be no entry into the facility. We're going to have the play area for parents who bring their youngsters, if they want to have them out there and pay attention to what's going on with them. They're able to do that, and you'll be able to listen to the service that way. So anyway, just keep all those precautions in mind, and be sure and check the weekly update to make sure you have all the information and the up-to-date access to the programs that we have.
And we miss you all. We just want you to know that. We miss being physically together. And we're trying to find ways where we can, ease into that with an outdoor service for those who want to do that. Again, you need to bring your own lawn chair. They have to be 6 feet apart, and, be
And
prepared.
wear masks.
And wear a mask, yes.
That's right. And social distance. And then after we're done, we're going to come inside, and so there's no program with respect to all of you who come to the outdoor service, so that we just ask that you maintain social distancing and be safe, and make sure that we can begin to open ourselves to these experiences without endangering or putting anybody at additional risk. All right, I think that's all the news that we can use for right now. That's more than enough. Let's get ready. Yes? Oh, that's right. Well, when we do have access, when individuals do have access to coming into the facility, once again, we're not open yet, but when that does happen, or if there is any special permission given to individuals who come to the facility, we have a place for everybody to sign in. We're seeking to prepare ourselves for the discipline and rigor of what it means to be in person. While we're a long ways away from being able to do that, especially in phase 2 now with the pandemic increasing. But when we do open, we'll have all those structures and systems in place.
And in the meantime, we want to thank our wonderful board members who are joining us here, just a couple at a time, to hold this whole service in prayer, and just be a presence of love and peace as we look at all of these things. So thanks to those of you who are here today.
All right, meditation
All right,
time.
shall we pray and meditate? Let's do that. So, let's all just take a breath, shall we? And wherever we find ourselves geographically, know that we are connected. We are divinely connected with one another in the heart. And as each one of us turns within, as we focus on the heart center, we move to that place where we are divinely connected. So let's do that now. As we just begin to settle into our seats, sinking our awareness deep, deep within the body. So feel your feet on the floor. Feel the trunk of your body, your legs, and feel your back against the chair. Move your attention throughout your body. Shoulders, arms, hands, neck, head, and face. Really sink your awareness deep, deep within, and become aware of any places in the body where you are holding on to tension. And with each breath, just relax a little more as you release those places. Stress takes its toll on our bodies, on our minds, our emotions. And And we hold that in our bodies. And so if you have a place in your body where the tension is just stuck there, go ahead and tense that part up. Tense it up, and then release. Notice around your eyes, your jaw, neck and shoulders. Find those places in your body where you are carrying the weight of the world. And just let them go as we let go of anything that is keeping us from being relaxed and present. And we know that the present moment is that place where time meets eternity. And so just follow your breath in and out. Let it anchor you in this present moment. Just notice. Just observe. Notice the sensations. Notice the thoughts that drift across your mind. And lovingly just release them. Now imagine breathing right into your heart. Follow the breath into the heart space. And feel the warmth of your heart begin to just bubble up from within you. Let it expand and radiate from your heart as you think about someone or something that you deeply appreciate. Let that feeling of appreciation fill your body, and as it does, just imagine every cell being bathed in this healing vibration of appreciation and gratitude. Let it spill out from your body. Let it invigorate your aliveness. Feel it. Feel your aliveness as it expands beyond the body. Feel that energetic signature of appreciation wash over you and express through you, knowing that each one of us is an inlet and an outlet of the divine. We are all here to be the carriers of divine love, to express it in this world, to express it with one another. And so as you continue breathing into the heart, letting it expand and radiate, just imagine blessing our planet, all those places where there is violence, hunger, where people are suffering. Just see it washing over this earth. See the divine love in your heart, joining with others of like spirit. All those who are standing up right now and saying, yes, I share my love with this world. I'm here to be the expression of love. Feel the power within you. And know that gratitude is a high vibration, and that as each one of us connects to that deeper source, gratitude is the automatic response, the fragrance of the present moment. It is who we are as we give thanks for life, for being alive on this planet right now, for being a part of the great turning. And your heart is needed. And so we let it grow and expand even more as we give thanks for the blessings of our lives, knowing that each one of us is blessed with the truth of who we are. And for this we are grateful. And so I invite all of us to remain in this place of gratitude, allowing that feeling to continue to rise up from within us and emanate from within as we sing together. I am so blessed. So it is.
I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed, I am so blessed. I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed.
All right, I am so blessed, aren't we all? So I just want to begin my sharing this morning with presencing my current, wonder how that happened. Let's see, what's going on with me? Excuse me 1 second here, while I make sure I'm not, well, I got what I need here. Let's see, okay. All right, we'll just start off with that slide then, if that's the way it's going to be. Well, this is not where I wanted to start my talk with this slide up, but let me just get back to what I was wanting to convey, and that is I need to share that this morning I'm coming to this service today emotionally altered. I have just learned a few minutes prior to the service that my father, as I mentioned 2 weeks ago at my Father's Day talk, I just learned prior to that talk that my dad was in the hospital for over a week for congestive heart failure. And my relationship with my siblings is not that great, so I learned about this sort of thing over Facebook. And that's sort of frustrating to be able to get the information I need. And then this morning finding out that he's fallen and he's in the hospital with several broken ribs, and not being able to have the information that I need to be able to feel that I can participate in supporting him other than just in prayer. And so I just want to presence that in the context of my trying to be a clear channel for what I believe is what I'm wanting to convey, what Spirit is having me to convey today. So I just wanted to say, I have this slide here because I wanted to point out a phenomenon that I noticed, and that is almost 20 years ago, I wrote a book called The Eye of the Storm, and at the time, I was trying to use the metaphor of the hurricane and the eye of the storm as being a way in which we can understand how we can, through spiritual practice, be able to be in the experience of the storms of our life without feeling diminished. If we are in the effort of trying to understand how we are helping to create the very storms that we're subjected to, we could be in a place to be able to use the experience of the storm to bring us into a greater place of empowerment, a greater place of wholeness and integration. And so after my book was launched, I like most brand new authors, was invited to share and to teach it. But I noticed this phenomenon, and that was that when everybody would refer to me as the author, would say Gary Simmons, the author of The Eye of the Storm, they'd always write it the I, E-Y-E, of the storm. And it was like, well, wait a minute, you're missing the point. The point is that we're looking at the personal sense of I am. And so in that context of I, that is our sense of being, how is it in the context of our own experience of life participating in creating our personal reality? In other words, there's some aspect of I in me that is having my life how I have it. And so the I am, is basically operating in me as a creative principle. And indeed, that's what Moses found out when he asked the burning bush, what should he call God? And what was the answer? I am that I am has sent thee. And so as we recognize that mantra, I am, as we so casually use it in our day-to-day conversations, has the power to liberate us or define us. And if I'm sick, or if I'm lonely, if I'm not enough, or I'm a disappointment, we have all the ways in which we're condemning our own self to our own self-imposed limitations. And so to come into relationship with a different context for how we are being in our experience of I, me, mine, helps us kind of recognize that the first act of being able to create intentionally out of a place of love and compassion and who and what we've come here to be is to recognize all the ways in which when we're asleep we create the stuff that's unlike the very things that are part of our essence. So I came across this as I was musing in Facebook this morning, and I thought it was apropos, especially to the point I'm trying to make today. One of the greatest paradoxes of your physical senses is that your eyes actually show you what you believe, not what you see. And just think about that for a moment. I mean, we have this saying, the eye is the lamp of the body. If thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be filled with light. This is something that Jesus spoke to his disciples. And I've mentioned in the past that Jesus was not necessarily referring to the physical eye. He was talking about a principle that the eye as the organ of perception when we're perceiving life in the context of the single eye as opposed to as he describes it, the evil eye, we filter and we paint the picture of our life either half full or half empty. And so as I looked at this point of Scripture and I began to think to myself, well, what if we just replace every EYE that we can find anywhere and just use the word I? And so how would it live as we would now look at this? The eye is the lamp of the body. The eye is, if thine eye be single, if our sense of I am be single, then our whole experience of life will be filled with light. And it made such clear sense to me that as we recognize that the dynamic of perception and meaning making constitute how we're using our faculty of our creative influence. And so as we recognize that our eye, our physical eye, is in the context of dimensions of ourself. In other words, we can look at our life and reduce it to a sense of I am what I have. And we do this all the time. Whenever we make the mistake of believing that what we have is who we are, then what happens out there affects us. And when we don't recognize that there's a dimension of ourself that lives as if having is being, and we'll get to this in just a little bit when we talk about the eye of the needle. When we look at having as being what constitutes whether or not I'm okay or not, if in the having or not having of something can emotionally alter me and affect me, then I'm kind of lost in this dimension of myself where I am identifying the truth of who I am, my essence, with the external world, with what I can have or with what I don't have. And that dimension of I fulfilling itself through us as our unconscious way of being in our world also manifests in the dimension of ourself that I am what I do. I mean, just think about, this is a part that I'm really guilty of. When I don't have something to do, I feel lost, or I feel like I don't have a purpose. And as we look at the dynamic of doing in our life and look at all the things that happen in this world that are done out of a sense of needing to be busy as opposed to out of a sense of purpose, being connected to an idea or a feeling or an intentionality that needs to be birthed and cultivated and allow it to grow. And to me, that kind of doing is what our essence is geared and designed to do, but yet we reduce ourselves to this dynamic of being driven in our life as opposed to really owning our essence. And that can be talked in terms of what I call the third eye. I mean, if the first eye is I am what I have, and the second eye is I am what I do, the third eye, not to be confused with the mystical third eye, but okay, let's confuse it. And let's just say the third eye, not EYE, the third eye. What is the third eye within me? And as I kind of get in touch with that, well, it has to be a dimension of myself that can express itself independent of how our life looks and feels. So nothing out there can eclipse this. That is the third eye I am. And that is, I am who I've come here to be. There's nothing out there that can eclipse my capacity to be that which I am here to express when I align myself with I am source. I am essence. I am the light. And while this is a concept, of course, we have to put it into some embodiment, some kind of practice. And so my first book was The Eye of the Storm, and as I contemplating whether or not I was ever going to be an author of books, which I'm not, my second book would have been The Eye of the Needle. Of course, it wouldn't be EYE. It would have to be the eye of the needle. And so it would mean something else. Of course, the Eye of the Needle is a famous historical place, and I'll say more about that in just a moment. But what I'm first wanting us to recognize is that as we kind of place ourselves in the awareness that if I could be with whatever is happening in my life out of the sense of I am, And how would I choose to be in order to allow what's happening in my life to be a gift, to be my abundance? And so now I'm wanting to do two things as a part of where this talk is going to go. The first is I want to look at the metaphysics of the story about that Jesus uses the example of the eye of the needle, and he mentions this in Scripture. He says it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of the needle than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of God. And the symbolism here is so rich. It's so rich. Well, first of all, his disciples were very familiar with the eye of the needle. It was a familiar place. It was an after-hours gate, and as we can see here, if you can't make it on time to get through the gate, and you're a rich man, you probably have a camel, you got stuff, and there's the little passageway. And so how are you going to get in? It's not an easy thing. But what has to happen in order for that camel to make it through is for it to be unpacked. And then it has to be coaxed down to its knees, and it has to be shuttled through that opening. And that metaphorically can symbolize to us a rich sense of what it takes to really enter into the fullness of who and what we've come here to be. And so as we look at the symbols, the eye of the needle, of course, is a passageway, but what is it a passageway into? Well, the city of Jerusalem. What does the city of Jerusalem represent within us in terms of a state of consciousness? According to the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary by Charles Fillmore, it represents a place of peace. It's the foundation of harmony. It's the abode of prosperity. It's everything that we're after in a crazy world. But it's not something that we find outside of ourselves. It's a place within ourselves that once we have access, we live in the I am essence of that awareness as source. And so there's a total different worldly experience when we come from that place. But we have to relinquish everything that's in the way of our entry into that dimension of ourself. The kingdom of God, as Jesus uses that expression, is his technical term that describes this field of infinite possibilities. This place where all things work together for good. Nothing and no one is against us. It's a state of being in our relationship to life, knowing that it's always for us. And to access that dimension of ourself that lives in that clarity of that awareness of oneness and connection and interdependency, in order for us to access that, we have to be capable of ridding what it prevents us from entry. And what prevents us from entry are our limiting beliefs, our sense of not enough, our unworthiness, our feeling that we don't measure up. And when we reduce our I am to those qualities, those attributes, we get the kind of life that we're in struggle to transform. And so as we recognize that the rich man in us is not the person who is so much necessarily attached to what's going on out there, but rather attached to what's in here that's in the way. And for me, what's in the way is my unworthiness. What's in the way is a sense that I'm a disappointment. And as I recognize that has to reflect itself in my outer life experiences, and as I remember that, I'm not going to work in the arena of the effect, but I'm going to work in the arena of cause, then I have to get to a different motivation or different modus operandi with respect to how I deal with my discomfort. I don't project my discomfort out there onto things out there in order to relieve myself of the responsibility of owning what's arising within me. I have to recognize that as the first step. And this is where it comes now to the eye of the needle, where we are wanting now to kind of see where is this eye that is the entry point into this dimension of myself that can be with whatever is happening in my life and not feel diminished by it, but rather use what is happening in my life experience as my abundance. And so as we kind of get into the sense, so if the needle represents this passageway that we must enter into in order to unfold in this dimension of ourself that is beyond our self-imposed limitations, we have to recognize that that's our job to do that. We got to do that. We have to do actually stuff in order to arrive at that felt state of being connected, of being a part of something bigger. And so it requires practice in order to generate that connection. I mean, we also have to have the neural architecture to generate the felt state, the sustained felt state of that awareness within ourselves. And so that's the purpose of spiritual practice. That's why we come together in spiritual communities, to reinforce this intent that we're here to restore ourselves into the awareness of our oneness and interconnection and our dependency with each other. This is what transformation is all about. So I'm going to wrap this up by just once again sharing a little bit of my personal journey. First of all, I've noticed certain themes in my life. And 20 years ago, the theme was really living the truth, the principle that there's nothing known against me. I had to ask myself the question, what would my life really be like if I lived in absolute integrity that this is the truth? And it's taken me a long time to get to a place where now I'm no longer trying to deal with pushing something away. Now my effort is trying to welcome everything. There's still while I'm not pushing things away, there's still a little bit of reluctance to welcome everything. I mean, everything. And so this time, and I've noticed that having this theme of nothing known against me and being compelled to do that work, to being compelled to gather the evidence that this is really for me under every circumstance, it's helped me to let go of I'm a disappointment. I mean, I can still go there, but when you know that nothing known is against you, and that what's happening in terms of your own way of being in your life, that I'm not a disappointment. What I do might be disappointing, but I am not. I am not. And so the theme that I've been working with in the last 5 years since I've been here at Unity Spiritual Center is, and the guidance is this just as what the guidance was, you have to prove that nothing known is against you. The guidance 5 years ago was you have to prove that everything that you have is your abundance. And so what do you do with a message like that? I've said that so many times. So this last 5 years have been a manifestation of my personal struggle to use whatever is happening in my life as if it's my abundance. And I got to say that Jane and I are living the fruits of this practice because we have a lot to show for what's emerging in our life, as well as the continued struggles that we have in other areas of our life. But nonetheless, to see the fruits of one's labor, to be able to look back and see, oh, this road's been tilled, this row has been tilled, or the deck has been built, or whatever, invites us into greater effort. It's harder to get the same evidence when you're working with your own well-being and worth, to be able to look back and say, oh, I'm over that now. But it's a growing capacity that we live into ourselves as really owning our worth, owning the truth of who we are. All right, so here's my spirit group discussion page. Just 4 things to be able to focus on that will keep us in this sense. The eye of the needle is this awareness that I am the portal, I am the gates, I am the door, Jesus said. Jesus described himself as this portal. And we have to describe ourselves as this portal, at least the dimension that we're seeking to own. And I have found, in terms of these last 5 years, in terms of using what I have as my abundance, it hasn't been easy. I mean, 5 years ago, 4.5 years ago, I got cancer, diagnosed in cancer. And I had to use that as my abundance. A few years after that, we thought we weren't able to financially maintain ourselves here in Spokane. I became a Lyft driver that got that desperate. But all that's behind us too. And so gratitude becomes the first dimension of how we live in this, in the dimension of ourself where I am. Because gratitude is the ultimate litmus test of our welcoming what's happening in the moment. If we can be present in a state of gratitude and just welcome it, while we might not want to necessarily like it, but just knowing that it wouldn't be present unless there was some aspect of what was important, integral to our own unfolding, it's there for that purpose. And then there's always the part of the challenge of dealing with what shows up in our own internal state. Little Gary has to be constantly hugged and loved and told it'll be all right. Can you imagine having to do that all the time with a part of yourself? Well, you got to do it until it's done, until it makes a big difference. You just got to do it. And then I found for the most part what is in the way of my being able to use what I'm having is the part of me that just says, well, you can't do that, or that's never been done that way, or so I have to exit that part of my default mode network, the part of my brain that wants to paint the picture as if it's against me or not enough. And so I have to go to a place of curiosity. Well, I'm wondering what this could be. It's like finding the pony in the pile. I wonder what's in there. And to bring curiosity to that internal dialogue, to question. I wonder if the opposite is true. To be able to use Byron Katie's technique in the context of being curious, to turn it around, to really see all the dimensions of what's happening. And then being in the question, just really being in this question, how is what I'm having right now for me? I have found that that's one of the most powerful places to be, and that is a willingness to kind of see what can be revealed once we set our smaller I ams out of the way. I am what I have, I am what I do. And what I've discovered in working these 4 component parts, and basically it's a sequence: feeling gratitude, working with my own sense of self, and then being curious, and then being in the question, and then being on the lookout for signs and wonders. That's one of the things that Jane and I have gotten so used to in this last year, are the serendipities that happen. The things that we don't have to be in struggle to acquire or to manifest or bring forth happen as a sense that there's something going on in the universe that is taking care of us right now, and I don't want it to ever stop. And I think Jesus had something to say, something like, if you seek first the kingdom of God, all the things that you have need of will be brought unto you. And maybe this is what it means to seek the kingdom of God. It is to be grateful, to care for ourselves and for each other, to be curious, and to be in the question. And so as we take to heart what's happening in the world, but as we recognize that we are here as bearing witness to it, our bearing witness needs to come from the context of not only holding the high watch, knowing that there is a pony in the midst of all this that's happening, but also to recognize that we contribute to the morphogenic field that either contributes to the story of separation or brings forth an integration into a greater sense of wholeness and oneness. So it's up to us. It's up to us to be in spiritual practice, to be in the context of doing what we need to do to really recognize that we are the one unto our own life. We are the Christ of God unto our world. We are source, and yet we're not any of that all by ourselves. God bless you. All right, it's time for me to have...
Taking it to heart.
Take it to heart. Let's take it to heart.
Am I on? Yes, I'm on. Yeah, thank you. That
was different than what I thought would come out.
It's always a wonderful surprise to hear these words of wisdom. Not that I don't think you're wise, but I mean, we just never know until you say them what's coming out, right? And so the thing that really occurred to me was the difference between I and I am, and that this journey is one of trying to get from I to I am. And the only way to do that is to go through the eye of the needle, is to unpack those beliefs or, the attachments, all the things that we try to carry into our new life with us, and yet those are the things that keep us from getting through there. And so that's the work, that's our spiritual work, is to move from I to I am. The I being the personality, the I am being the true reality of who we are. And that's the work, is to get through that eye of the needle. And when we can do that, we are free of those things that are just keeping us, down and apart. I once read that the only thing that separates us are our beliefs, and I really think that's true. And so we can have these experiences of I'm going to carry this belief because it's true. I believe it's true. And yet then at some point in our life we find it's not true. That I've been living my life as if this were true, and it's not. Anyway, that's the first thing. The second thing was that, let me think, how did I think of this? Anyway, if you want to comment on the first.
So I'll just say that I forgot what I was going to say.
Sorry.
We're having a senior moment right now.
The eye, to the eye. I know.
Go ahead.
Okay.
No, you first.
The other thing was how I love the theme of your life being nothing and no one is against you. My work is to prove this is true, and then it turns into or becomes everything is your abundance. You find how that's true, prove that's true. And I thought how those two things are connected, because if nothing and no one can be against you, then obviously whatever's happening has to have a gift in it somewhere. And yeah, it's the pony looking through the manure, but you can really start to see that everything that's happening to us, when we can start to look at our life as what's being mirrored to me, when we know that life is a mirror, that nothing and no one is against us, then we look for the gift in that. So if I don't like what my life is mirroring for me, the gift is that I can see it and I can make a change, and I can start to think, if this is mirroring this, what's that telling me about what's going on inside my own psyche? And now I have the power to change it.
Right.
So
right.
that's
Well, what I was going to say is that when we're working with using what we're having as if it's our abundance, guess what gets undone inside of us? Our own sense of not enough. And you see, that's the antidote to our own sense of not enough, is actually, when we're in our not enough, whatever we're having is insufficient, right? So we don't bother using this because it's not enough. But when we actually use whatever that we're having and we recognize it's our abundance, it translates into I am enough. Because look what I can do with this.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
That's powerful.
All right, you think we're finished?
Well done. I think so.
Let's go on to the next one.
So now it's time for us to celebrate that abundance that is in everything in our life that's showing up for us. So we want to, first of all, thank all of you for continuing to support our community financially. Why are you looking at me like that?
I'm just doing a thank you slide. It's okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm going to bring it back.
I thought you were.
No, there's nothing wrong.
Okay.
Okay.
So thank you.
Okay.
There you go. Thank you. That's all I want to say. Is
Okay,
thank
that's all
you.
you want to
And
say? Okay.
I'm really feeling that sense of gratitude today. I think I Am So Blessed was the perfect song today, for me, at least, because I do feel very blessed that even though all that's happening in our world, in our country, that we are still connected with one another in this way. And that there's real power in that. And I think that we can change this world if we just keep on staying connected in the heart and doing the heart work together. And let's not lose that. Let's not let that slip out of our hands.
Oh, I just thought of something.
Oh, did you?
Right now there's a thing out there in the foyer with envelopes right in front of the church mailbox that if people want to provide us with a donation, especially next week on Sunday, when we're not going to take up a collection, they can know that they can go in and submit a donation, put it in an envelope in our mailbox.
there's a mail slot in the front foyer. They could slip it through.
That's
Yes.
right. All right.
And that's for next week. For today, let's just hold in our hearts this truth that we know, and we'll say it together, our love offering blessing. I know that my giving blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I give and receive. I give thanks
for the
for the
abundance
abundance that is mine to share. I really want to feel that today.
All right.
All right. Well, we are blessed.
We are. So we're going to move next into our Zoom meet and greet. We have another song from Sean and Tawny. They've asked us to play this, and so hopefully you'll stay and watch it before you close
And sing
down.
along.
It's right. And now when we go to this song, there's 10 seconds of nothing there, so don't think it's not coming. If after 15 seconds there's nothing there, then it's not coming, obviously. But just so you know that there's a little bit of a lag. And then just remember, once again, check the e-news update this Wednesday for the new Zoom login and password, because we'll have to have passwords now when we're logging in on Zoom. And you'll get that for our next week's meet and greet.
Right, but not today.
Not today.
Use
Today's
the
the
one.
other one.
Yep.
All right, here we go.
All right.
See you.
Do our best to be immortal and leave a legacy behind. Nobody cares about how we've struggled to be a legend in our own mind. Everybody wants to be a hero. We try to stake our claim to fame, but what we take adds up to zero. That's why we give that wins the game. And so we find our center and we get a little bit better, and we learn to trust our heart and soul. Now I finally get it. Well, I don't need the credit, 'cause a live heart is worth its weight in gold. I'm gonna give it all away before I go. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. We offer up random acts of kindness. Nobody ever seems to know. The ones we help may never find us. We keep in touch by letting go. And so